Hey guys, meteorologist Lindsay Slater here. Let's do a little update on what's going on with today. There's a lot of things happening here. We'll call the triple S's, little triple threat here. So one, I'm going to talk about some smoke. Two, I'm going to talk about a swim risk. And three, about these showers and thunderstorms that are on the way. So you can see already, we do have a pretty big complex. We have this cold front that's stretching all the way from basically Canada. You can see there's another low up there. And then it's attached by this little guy and attached by that little guy, and then the final cold front here at the back. So it is all one system. There's just little things that are kind of allowing it to kind of propagate forward. We have, these little intense areas of low pressure. The worst part of it's going to be right here, kind of stretching from, I would say, northern Missouri through the Ozarks, through Oklahoma City, kind of through Springfield, St. Louis, and Davenport. That's kind of the worst stuff. We're in the northern flank of that system. You can see we already do have some clouds that are building in, but we also have some really hazy skies as well. Let's try that again. There we go. I think we're good. Okay. Sorry, I moved the microphone and it just cut me out. So as we look at the timeline of today, I showed this on air this morning. I really don't expect a lot of activity until we get to much later on this evening. I would say after about 7 o'clock in the Milwaukee area, we'll get storms that are firing to the west throughout much of the day today, and then they're going to push their way to the east as we go throughout the evening hours. We still have this smoke though. Look at this smoke. That's incredible. I mean, this is dense, thick smoke over the region. And this is where they're coming from. Look at all this. From Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. I mean, these are some really nasty fires going on. Now, I'm not sure if how contained they are at this point. It looks like they've really just increased in size quite a bit. I know a lot of the area is just like open area and grasslands and stuff, but you can see the moderate smoke and the light smoke to the west. But let me zoom out to the CONUS, which is continental United States. And I mean, there's every state almost, for the exception of Hawaii, Alaska, and also into Arizona that do not have smoke in some capacity. Yes, I even included New Mexico, that little phalange right there, that little guy popping up. But everybody's experiencing this. Look at this. We have dense smoke all the way down through the deep south, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, all the way up. And this is all because of, the way the jet stream is oriented is kind of just wrapping things around. So we're in the middle of this as well, just as, areas in Illinois and Indiana. So we all are experiencing this smoke. There's also a high swim risk today. So this is for all of our lakefront counties. And I know you might not be going to beaches like right now, but it is warm enough for it, for the exception of the water temperature, which is currently 51 degrees. So we're already at 75 degrees. It is 9 o'clock in the morning. But as we go into the afternoon, we top out at about 83. The mostly cloudy skies you're seeing there is mainly due to that smoke. And yes, we do have sticky conditions. The dew points are in the low 60s today. But here's Futurecast. And I like showing you guys stuff that I don't show on TV. So we're going to go to some of the weather models. And this is the 12Z. So this is the newest model run that we have. And I was looking at the H trip earlier this morning, and I'm like, you know what? I feel like it's going a little fast. I do think we could get some convection ahead of the main line. I absolutely think that's a possibility. I feel like it's going to be more broken. Watch this. I'm going to show you the previous run from what I saw this morning. See how this morning it showed it as a big blob? And I was like, I don't buy that. I think it's going to be more like these little guys right here. And so that's kind of what we're seeing with the 12Z, which I agree a little bit more with, just based on my experience with how these systems tend to come about, especially when it's not associated with a warm front. And then you can see we don't really get anything around here. This is 12Z, 3Z is 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. So this is 8, so 7, 8, 9, 10. And it really just kind of blobs out. The one thing I will say as I go back here, let's take a look at some energy. Energy is pretty lackluster by the time it gets here. It's more interesting to the west, but I think due to the lack of energy, all the energy is down in the Ozarks. So that's where the bad stuff's going to be. That's where a lot of the shear is as well, the helicity, the rotation in the atmosphere. A little bit of that's popping up here. So I am cautious on it. I think spin-ups are possible, but that's not the main driver. We don't have any cap in the atmosphere, but that's not the main driver of these storms. There's a little bit of rotation here, but again, look at the time. This is by 21Z. This is 3 p.m. By the time the front gets through, a lot of that shuts off. So my fear, my worry about severe weather is going to be pretty low today. So that is what I'm looking at. I would say heavy rain and gusty winds are going to be your primary threat as storms decay through time. I'm just checking my time here to make sure I'm not just rambling for 10 minutes straight. And we can look at the Storm Prediction Center. They do have us in a 2% tornado risk. Again, that's mainly the western part of the state, I would feel, because of the dynamics of this system. I would say wind, even hail is a low threat because you don't have that high CAPE, the convective available potential energy. You don't have high energy. Without high energy, you don't get big updrafts. Without big updrafts, you don't get hail that can stay up there and form. You could get small hail, but it drops right away. You need a big updraft to keep the little bits of hail in the atmosphere, and then they cycle in, and then over time they become so big and so heavy that they fall. That's how hail forms. So at this point, I don't see a high hail threat. I would say heavy winds, and also, again, that potential of some of the heavy rain on the order of 1 to 2.5 inches. Here's one of the smoke models, and I actually just spoke on 99.1 The Mix with Elizabeth and Radar this morning, and I was talking about how smoke is very different than looking at weather models. While this is a model, smoke behaves very, very differently than a fluid, than air molecules. This is a particle. Particles behave very differently in the atmosphere than water does, and we call those hydrometers. So I just don't see I don't like looking at smoke models because I don't find them very consistent. It's a level of physics that I don't understand because it's not what I practice. So while I can show a model that showcases some clearing this afternoon, this is vertically integrated smoke, so it's up in the atmosphere. If we want to see it at the surface, we have to look at the cross section, and that would be right here. And you can see this would be 9 a.m. So maybe by like noon, a little bit of it mixes down to the surface, which is this part right here down to the surface. This is elevated. So we go back in time. This is what we're experiencing right now, is all this smoke up here. And then it looks like we clear up. Holy cow. Look at that for a little bit. I'm not confident whether or not it comes back, but that is the latest. And then we get a healthy dip in temperatures. We go back down to the 60s for tomorrow. So these are our storms that are on the way. You see them right here. Nothing too much to worry about right now. I would say we might get some of these little guys that pop up by 3 o'clock or so. More activity is likely going to be happening later on this evening. I would say 7 to 11 p.m. So if you have any baseball games, little league, things with the kids tonight, just be cautious of that. Be very weather aware, and we'll have all your updates. As always, I will be posting on my social media platforms, but this is a platform I like to use more to kind of get into the teeth, get into the nitty gritty of how I forecast, what I'm thinking, and then you guys are learning a little bit too. And as always, if you have questions, you just let me know. Write it in the comments below. And I do get emails when I get comments, so at least I know what's happening. On my other platforms, I don't get notifications. I just happen to check it randomly throughout the day, and I might see it, I might not see it. So if you want to connect with me, you can just send me a comment, and make sure you share and subscribe to my content. I will be posting these when I'm working, sometimes when I'm not working. And yeah, you guys have a good rest of your day.